Going on, packed crowd. What's going on?
Nice hat.
What do you get in terms of
Sorry, bro. I'm keeping carrying. Sorry, bro. I got you right after.
Drake, what's it been like this week watching a film festival of the Houston Defense?
Yeah, they fly around. They're relentless. They're great up front. They're great in the back end. They got great linebackers. They're great all around. They're great coaching. So we got our hands full, and we know it's going to be a tough game. We got to play the game the right way, and we got great players all around. And man, all the hype is fulfilling and is deserving on film. What I've seen. So we got to be able to stay ahead of the chains. And I know we got a tough task, but we're gonna have our hands full and play complementary football, and from there just try to find ways to pick up first down, score some points.
What did you get just psychologically out of getting that first playoff win under your belt and out of the way?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it out of the way. Just trying to play, do my part to try to win the game. Any playoff game's pressure, and trying to play in the postseason, win postseason games is tough in this league. So I was proud to be able to do it in front of a home crowd, and with our defense that helped me out and helped us out, a good bit. So I'm gonna do better of not putting the football in harm's way, and from there just try to do my best to score touchdowns in the red zone and stuff like that matters in the postseason even more than the regular season. So do something there and make some throws, but just keep playing football.
Generally speaking, when you have a defense like them, it's going to be a X, Y, or Z, and that's pretty much it. What do you think is the best way to approach things offensively? Kind of a simpler scheme as opposed to a defense.
Yeah.
Try to disguise more.
Well, the thing about the Texans is, what they do, they're good at it, really good at it. They do it a lot. They got different ways. They play some man coverage, they play some zone. They got eyes on the quarterback. They got eyes on creating turnovers. Their guys in the back end are great at getting their hands on the football and catching it when they're somebody throwing it. So they got good players outside. I think for us offensively, just try to stay ahead of the chains. Scheme wise, I think just do things that we're good at and try to find a ways every week to scheme something up if we see it. But at the same time, just try to stay ahead of the chains and know kind of what type of game it is.
He's gone through an awful lot over the course of the last year or so. As a teammate, how much can you appreciate the fact of what he's been able to overcome, maybe, and then his success that he's had, particularly over the last month?
Yeah, it's been awesome to watch. I think the biggest thing is he hasn't wavered, and we haven't shied away from trusting in him. And I think that's the biggest thing, coaching wise and teammate wise. We knew what type of player he was, what type of player he can be in this league, and as you've seen it's been such a great a great deal to watch him kind of bounce back and have some early season woes, and that's just part of life. And he hasn't blinked. He's had some things off the field and on the field, and he's just kept his head down and has become a great player for us, and he's been fun to watch.
Drake, Mike was talking about before too that it's not the idea of with this front four and defensive backs getting the ball out quicker, but getting the ball out on time. But against this defense, how difficult is it to get it out on time?
Yeah, I mean, I think the DBs and the guys in coverage, know that up front that they're good, so that gives them a capability to maybe try to take some more chances, knowing the rush could get home, and faced them last year, so got a little bit of a feel for it in my first start. Was kind of just trying to stay alive out there. So these guys are great up front. They're great in the back end, and got to be good and got to be firing all cylinders.
How does it feel to, your first start was against the Texans, and now it's kind of like a full circle moment. You'll be facing them in the playoffs. Just what's that kind of like feeling like?
Yeah, I mean, that feels like 10 years ago. It's been a long journey, so it's just take some time probably to just look back and see what the journey's been like. I know it's hard to do that in such a sped up time in the postseason where so many things are trying to do and finish and think about, but no, just take some time to reflect on running out there with the first snap jitters was pretty cool. It was fun to look back on, and hopefully have a different outcome from the game, but definitely to take some time to appreciate where we've come and where how much work we still got to do, and especially myself.
Drake, defense like this, you said, flies around. What do you think you'll have to be aware of when you make a decision to be a runner?
Be a runner? Yeah, those guys, especially the linebacker level, they're gonna try to take your head off, and I think respect them for it. They do it at a really high level. They tackle the ball carrier hard, and they'll punish them, and they make you pay for it. So, gotta have a good deal about and a good feel about when to take chances and when to be smart, because the linebackers are good and they do a good job of delivering some big time hits. So that's this league, and knowing to protect myself and try to be good. So I think I scrambled a couple times last year, and there's since then you kind of seen some of those guys on tape just take some guys out of the game, and even their corners, Ford and Lassiter, those guys are good players in the run game and tackling.
Back on the tape of that game against Houston, what do you see from the quarterback? What do you see from yourself in that game?
Yeah, I think just different scheme, so it's hard to relate it to now. Just some chances. You won some in man coverage. We're gonna have to do that again. They're really good in man coverage. We won some. Staying ahead of the chains, not getting in passing downs, and had a chance come out of the half and had a strip sack. So just little things like that you got to keep yourself in the game and know that a little play like that can flip the tides.
Drake, I know you don't want to mess with the mac and cheese and offense, but how important is it to introduce tweaks and things just to keep a defense on the back foot and make sure that they can't take away your core tenets?
Yeah, anytime. It's a tough balance, trying to just keep the stuff you're good at, and also trying to mix in some things that are maybe new or fresh to try to keep their kind of on their toes. So it's definitely a tough balance. I think we do a good job of trying to mix in some new stuff and try to keep some of our same stuff. So try not to give too much of an advantage if they're listening, but I think there's definitely an even balance.
Drake, this is your second. Sorry. Thank you. This is your second season with the team, and you already have such a huge fan base, whether you think it's warranted or not, a huge cult-like following. How does that help you in this playoff run?
How does that help me in the playoff run? Other than the cheers and stuff, just try to give them something, to cheer about, more. I think, really not thinking too much about it. Like I said, I appreciate how the fans have kind of, embraced me and took me into, New England as a Southern kid. So I just enjoyed it and try to enjoy it and give them something to, cheer more about.
Drake, all year long, when the play breaks down, which probably will happen given how good they are this weekend, how do you figure out when to extend the play or just go down and move on to the next play?
Yeah, if there's somebody on defense that's going to hit me hard, I try to go down. And if there's somewhere I can make some play and make a room to scramble a little bit, I try to go make a play.
All year long, Mike Vrabel's reminded you guys to enjoy this, to have fun. How important has that been? And is it more important at this time of the year?
Yeah, we're just talking about, there's 24 teams at home right now. There's 8 of us, practicing and still working. And it's, he mentioned us today before practice, take a look, raise your hand who was still practicing this time last year. I think, Milton was the only one. So it was pretty just eye-opening to see, there's eight teams left. And it's a chance and opportunity that we have to, play a home football game and home playoff game that matters at times when it matters most. So just kind of reflect on that and realize kind of opportunity we have, and at the same time, how much work we've done to get here and enjoy it, and at the same time, he just remind us to take advantage of it and know that we got a chance.
You took some hard hits against the Chargers. How much do those hits add up over the course of the year?
How much they add up over the year? I credit to my guy Zach in the training room. He does a great job of getting me healthy, and I think just trying to get back to my level. I feel like as close to 100% as you can. You not always are, and some weeks you feel better than the others. But I pride myself in trying to get beat every practice, beat every game, and be that way. And really, I think the biggest thing is I'm young, so I'm fortunate enough to not to feel as much as some of those older guys do. But they got a little scrape in my hand. But other than that, I feel great.
Notice the Texans defense emphasizes turnovers. Given what happened in the Chargers game, is there anything you take away from that and also now put forward to this game? Yeah,
I think the tipped interception, it is what it is. I think I could have done a better job of seeing the guy and maybe not try to throw a hoop at the backside, but let him get across. The fumble, the last fumble, I just held the football. You can't do that this week. Again, you can't do it especially when we're cutting on the edge in a quick game. You can't do things like that, and protect the football. And from there, just kind of know when that timer's been off of my head. And I feel like I've had a good feel for that this year. Just got to keep that in mind and know those guys on our edge are great players. I got to know them. I know Will. I got to know Hunter at the Pro Bowl. So know these guys, and they're great dudes, but they're great players and want to get sacked. So they got some good guys, inside as well that have played great. They played great last week. So we got a tough job, but at the same time, just have some mental checklist stuff, and from there, just play football and use my teammates.
Thank you.